This is RainierAvenueRadio.world.
Welcome back to RainierAvenueRadio.world, our special Friday broadcast of the impacts of the coronavirus on South Seattle and surrounding communities. If you're just tuning in, you missed a conversation again with Sydney Brownstone, award-winning reporter with Project Homeless for the Seattle Times, talking about how things are going to change as the weather gets colder. And then we also talked a little bit about folks who will be potentially venturing into this position of being unsheltered or homeless and not sure about how to navigate that environment, but then also, you know, what that looks like or could feel like in a shelter. My next guest joining me will be here to talk about musicians' health care during the pandemic. And again, another area, as we're talking about this, where there may be folks out there who are not used to navigating that environment. There may have been housing instability, but in the world of musicians, this has just completely changed the game across the board. My guest, Denise Burnside, is a leader in sustaining and growing the music community and culture and ecosystem in Seattle. For over 20 years, she's led the charge to create and grow music institutions in our town like the Showbox, KEXP, the Clock Out Lounge, now executive director of SMASH, Seattle Musicians Access to Sustainable Healthcare. Denise is driving the movement to keep musicians thriving in Seattle and our surrounding region, preserving our unique local culture through access to healthcare services for musicians. Denise, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Well, good to have you here. And I want to ask you, I got to ask you before we get started, how are you doing? How is the Clock Out Lounge doing? I know this affected you personally in a number of different ways. As a South Seattle business owner, how have you been, and what have these past few months been like for you?
Oh, goodness. Well, we were literally going to celebrate our 2-year anniversary with a very diverse lineup of musicians and performers. And on that Friday of our big show, I got to send out letters laying off all our staff. So that was a pretty sad 2-year anniversary. And I mean, basically that was, you know, we closed on March 16th. We reopened to barely any business in July, and we're doing about 10% of what we did in previous years. And we're just basically trying to go into the hole less and stay around, so then when we can come together as a community and celebrate the great talent and culture in our city, we want to be there.
And again, I know the emphasis is on SMASH and the work that you're doing there. But you know, we do talk to folks from our communities to hear about how this is impacting. And for you, as you head into, you know, the months now where, you know, there's not going to be the opportunity for outside and the risk is increased inside. How do you plan to maneuver through this? And again, I'm talking to Denise Burnside. We're going to be talking about SMASH, but she's also the owner of the I guess it was the very popular Clock Out Lounge.
Yeah. Oh, Tony, your questions are so great. We don't know, to be honest. Our conversations are just around, I think, responding to what ends up happening. You know, at a certain point, it doesn't make sense to stay open. We, of course, would love the government, Congress, to actually pass more stimulus, because we did qualify for the PPP, but it wasn't that large of an amount. And, you know, we need more funding. So hopefully government will get it together and more funding will happen. There is a lot of, Jody, my business partner, is spending a lot of her time working on the WANMA, the coalition that's working to raise funds for music venues, so they are around when this pandemic passes and we get a vaccine and people can gather again. But it's kind of unknown what will happen. So it's kind of on a month to month. How are we doing, and does it make sense to continue staying open or not?
As the owner of a venue that will host again live performance, you would have some insight into what's going on with our musicians during this time. So, just kind of an overview of what you've seen, what you've experienced, what you're aware of about what's during this pandemic, what's going on with those whose careers depended on live performance in front of folks.
Well, I have to say that my whole passion of even starting to work with Smash as a volunteer and now executive director was because I saw that musicians were struggling and really struggling against the high cost of living in Seattle. It was one thing, back in the 90s when rents weren't so insane, and it wasn't just such a pressing, through the ages, paying rent, utilities is a struggle, no doubt about it. It's just that our high cost of living, it's really high in Seattle now. So it's pushed a lot of artists out of the core, and the core is where the density is. It's where the clubs are. It's where a lot of the creative juice gets flowing and collaborations come together. So when I saw the statistic, this is the thing, is before the pandemic, there were reports that, Seattle had some of the highest paid computer workers in the nation, but the lowest paid arts workers, and that includes musicians. And before the pandemic, musicians suffered from mental health at, sometimes like 4 times as much as the general population. And so then you go into the pandemic, and the creative economy has been hit the hardest. Brookings Institute came out with a report to substantiate this recently, that the creative industry is the hardest hit, and specifically fine arts and performing arts, in which musicians are in that category. And there is a huge concern about the ability to come back from this. So from what I experienced personally before the pandemic and now in the pandemic, it's just important that we remember that our lives and our culture and even our business, our economy is driven by creativity, by evolving ideas, by collaborations, innovation. So if we don't value our musicians and find a way to lift them up and take care of their basic needs so they can continue to contribute to our thriving society, it's gonna suck, basically. We're gonna be a city that's all business, and frankly, our business will probably suffer because there'll be less creativity to drive that business. So anyway.
Yeah, it's ironic that you say that because one of the main considerations for those high-paid tech people to come here is because of the thriving creative culture that exists in our nightlife, which is attractive.
Exactly.
Yeah, my guest again, Denise Burnside. Let's talk about Smash. Seattle musicians' access to sustainable healthcare. How long has this been in existence?
So it was formed in 2015, but really 2017 is kind of when it started going. And it really was the driver of the first services were hearing protection program. It was the first program that was launched. And it was, basically musicians could come and get their hearing tested. They could be educated on where their hearing is at and what they think the factors would be. And then get custom molded earplugs, hearing protection, and choose the attenuator that they want. I think at a greatly reduced rate, we would it was like $40 for the entire kit and caboodle. So that's how it launched. And then in hand with that were preventative services. So musicians got once a year the ability to go to a doctor, get a preventative visit, get labs done, and Smash would fund that. We used to only serve King County hence why Smash has Seattle in the name. And now we've expanded so that we serve musicians and music teachers living in Kings, Snohomish, Pierce, Mason, Kitsap, and Thurston counties.
What is the message that you have out there for musicians who, again, as we head into the colder months and the more likelihood that there will be flu, and they're predicting increased activity and surges with the coronavirus pandemic, and then just all the other stuff that just happens that you could need healthcare for. What is the message that you have out there right now for musicians who are struggling through this process during the pandemic and may be unaware of the option that they have or options that may have as you're trying to get the word out about Smash?
I think the core message is reach out to us. We can help you navigate even signing up for us. So we've got an easy way to sign up. It takes less than 5 minutes. We have higher income levels than you commonly see when you have to qualify for Apple Care because of the higher cost of living in Seattle. So first of all, don't be intimidated by the idea of it being healthcare and the bureaucracy and pain in the butt that usually healthcare is. Smash is here to try to make things easier for you. Our musicians, the ones who have come to us so far, by and far, are looking for mental health support and for dental care. We do offer doctor visits and lab work as well, and we encourage you to please access those services. But right now, we find that our musicians really struggle with finding mental health providers that serve their needs, as well as paying for those, the co-pays or the co-insurance that they have to pay for those services. And often dental care is either not covered or the service providers are, cause you more anxiety and stress than they do serve your dental needs. So we can help you. So please sign up for Smash.
You're listening to RainierAvenueRadio.world. It's me, Tony B. This is our special impacts of the coronavirus on South Seattle and surrounding communities. My guest is Denise Burnside, Executive Director of Smash, Seattle Musicians Access to Sustainable Healthcare, but also one of our South Seattle residents, the owner of the Clock Out Lounge. And if you're just tuning in, we talked a little bit about that earlier. Denise, explain to us how you can, because I could see how a musician would go, whoa, healthcare, musicians, explain to us how you are able to navigate this maze of bureaucracy and red tape that called healthcare in the interest of musicians who, again, as creative types, it's not like you play and you have this job where you get health care, so just getting the health care that you need without a pandemic involved is difficult. And again, I'm curious, and I appreciate what you're doing in that there is something for musicians, but how do you do that? Navigate this maze of bureaucracy and red tape of healthcare, and combine that when you say, okay, well, and we're working with a group of folks right now who can't even work, and the mental health issues that may cause, along again with issues of potentially being unsheltered, being transient. Just sounds like a big deal. Is there a way you can explain this to how this works?
Oh, well, I think you did a good job of kind of putting the umbrella of it is difficult. I mean, I can't say that we have it all figured out, but that is what we're striving to do. We're a young organization. We're trying to build networks of compassionate providers that we know if we send musicians to them, they'll see them as their whole person, whatever that might be, whatever their background is, what they've experienced, that they're not just a checkbox, that they don't mind that they're, might have odd hair and lots of tattoos and all of the things that come along with, looking and being artistic. but we don't, by all means, we're still trying to figure it out. We have launched our open enrollment for 2021 right now because we're hoping to get as many musicians signed up and find out if they need help signing up through open enrollment through the Apple Care when it opens. Because we do find that navigation is one of the tough things about our system, that unfortunately there's lots of numbers to call, but whether or not the people at the end of the phone are, there's time limits on how long people are supposed to sit there and help you navigate. They oftentimes don't seem helpful. So that's what we want to do. We want to find out who needs help with open enrollment. And so we can be there and set them up with people that we know will hear them and work through. Because some musicians have 1099 income, they have W-2 income. It's often hard to even understand how to properly declare how much revenue you make, how much income you make for your household of 1 to 4, 5, 6. So, oh my goodness. In short, I can't tell you that we figured it out because it is a monster, but that is what we're here to do. And person by person, we hear what they're struggling with and we jump in to try to figure it out.
So this is the open enrollment period now.
Yes, and I do want to note that Smash never closes enrollment. Mm-hmm. We just are trying to do a push for 2021, so you're signed up prior to Apple Care open enrollment. So then we know, then you're already connected with us and let us know if you need help getting through Apple Care open enrollment. Okay. And then you're set for all of 2021 to access Smash services.
Okay. And how does one, again, during these times of isolation and businesses and places not being open, access, and some folks don't even have access to the internet. How does one access the enrollment and take care of, hopefully their health in the upcoming year?
We do have, you can call, you can text, and you can do it online. And like you said, we don't have an in-person office right now. That went away with the pandemic. So we don't have a place where people can come in person to sign up, but we can at least call if you don't have access to a computer or a mobile device with internet access. You can do all the enrollment through your phone. So at least there's that. I do want to note that we do, like, on the individualistic side. So when people, like, mental health is one of the biggest needs right now of our musicians. Mm-hmm. And we do take that person by person. We have partnered with ReachLink, which is a telehealth organization. But when people come to us with a provider that they want to stay with but can't afford, we'll work with them to figure out a payment plan where we can pay directly to the provider that they want to see, who's taking good care of them. So we do take things case by case. We have guidelines, but we do try to be flexible in order to serve musicians.
And the number that someone can call if they're interested and they want to find out more about enrollment.
Great question. I'm going to go to our website so I can tell you that.
Mm-hmm. You're listening to RainierAvenueRadio.world. This is our special Friday broadcast of the impact of the coronavirus on South Seattle surrounding communities. My guest is Denise Burnside, Executive Director of SMASH, Seattle Musicians Access to Sustainable Healthcare during a pandemic. And this is the enrollment period. And again, Denise, you were saying that this is also kind of a critical period because of the Apple Care situation, right?
Exactly. The number to call is 206-495-1285. And so enrolling with Smash now will set you up to let us know, like, if basically you've gone through Apple Health before and you had struggles of any kind, let us know what they are, and we'll work with you to figure out how you can get through that and get your questions answered and make sure that you're signed up for the services that you qualify for and that you deserve. We also can help that once you're signed up, if you're struggling to navigate and figure out how to use the services, that's also something that we can help you with.
Okay, let's get everybody get your pens together, get your piece of paper, or if you have a laptop, if not, let's give them that number one more again.
It is 206-495-1285.
And you can also do this on the website?
That is correct. It's smashseattle.org.
Okay, SMASH Seattle.org?
Correct.
All right. And I'm going to do this one more again because we want folks to have this information. Let's give them that number one more time, Denise.
It's 206-495-1285.
Okay, and if you still didn't get it, if you contact us here at the radio station, we'll make sure that you get this number. What is right now for Smash? You know, what is the goal? What would you consider success to be? Because you're talking about something that's so pervasive and so broad and brand new, and then what we're going through right now. As you're establishing, okay, how are we going to measure our success? Or how are you doing that right now? What would you consider to be success for Smash?
Well, for our big picture, Seattle is filled, and our region is filled with musicians, and we want every musician that qualifies for our services to be signed up. I mean, I think the thing is, if every musician signed up, whether or not they use the services, but at the time of need, say they had something, they got a cavity, they were already signed up with us, so then therefore they could go right to the dentist and get it dealt with. They were already signed up, so therefore when they started feeling depressed and didn't know what to do, we could immediately get them connected with mental health services. So that's the big goal, is every musician that qualifies is signed up and ready to access services when they need them.
Mm-hmm. And I want to give you an opportunity for final words here. But before I do that, again, if you're just tuning in addition to being the executive director of Smash, Denise is also one of our South Seattle business owners and the Clock Out Lounge. You go there for pizza and music. How are your at this point, your neighbors, your community? What are you hearing back from folks, or are you hearing back from folks in your community about how you're all dealing with this in that part of the town in Beacon Hill?
I will say that I am probably not. Jody Eklund, my business partner, is on site a few days a week. We only have we're only open enough to have 2 employees behind the bar working. So we have, we let go of most of our employees. So Jody is working, and then we have 1 other employee working. And what I hear is the locals are really glad that we're open even just a little bit, so they have somewhere to walk to stop by after work and try to feel a part of a community, even for a few minutes. But yeah, I mean, people are struggling. People are sad. I think everyone's worried about the flu season and the winter, and understandably so.
And again, the Clock Out Lounge. What's the address to the Clock Out Lounge for someone who want to go in there? And are you still serving menu? And what do you have going on there that folks can come get?
Yep, we have the amazing Breezy Town Pizza that has both salads and pizza, and I have to that it is a wonderful thing to have when you need some comfort food. Believe me, it is some comforting pizza. Our address is 4864 Beacon Avenue South. We open at 4:00 and we close at 10:00.
And are you doing takeout as well?
Yes.
All right.
We've got some really great merch too.
Denise, when we first met, we had no concept that shortly this would be happening. I want to give you an opportunity for final words here to talk about Smash or whatever you want to say to our communities.
Take care of each other. We as a, all of us, right? Our fabric, our community, the musicians tell the story of our community in all the different genres, and coming together and supporting our artists. And in return, our artists support us by lifting up our spirits or helping us connect to what we're going through. I just really hope that our community values our musicians and that they, appreciate what they bring to our community, which is a lot of joy, a lot of, relation to, like we have a lot of sad music in Seattle a lot, right? But that helps us get through our sad times. And I just really hope that we get out of this as a community and we come out taking care of each other, and then we're not driven apart by the hardships that we go through.
Well, we'll stay in touch, Denise, and again, we'll do a follow up here and another opportunity to engage musicians and other folks about Smash and see if we can make sure we get that enrollment up.
Thank you, Tony. I really appreciate it.
My guest again, Denise Burnside, Executive Director of Smash. And this is not her doing this. I was the one that said, whoa, wait a minute. We're going to have to talk about the Clock Out Lounge. It's in our community. And if you've been listening, that's what we do. We talk about our businesses and our individuals in our community who are finding their way through this. Recently, yesterday, I believe it was, the governor of Michigan was potentially going to be kidnapped. And by a right-wing organization. We have the opportunity to talk to a member of the FBI. And again, here in the Northwest, there are a number of militias and right-wing organizations. And then after that, we'll be talking to Hal Burton from Seattle Times, who's been covering protests in Portland and Seattle. And we're going to talk and find out if we can get some information if there has been a rise of right-wing extremism here in the Pacific Northwest. We'll ask if there's been a rise in left-wing extremism as well, and how this, affects your potential safety in our communities. We'll be back right after this.